Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please, if you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this beautiful bubu style and trendy bubu style. It can be worn to any kind of event, the beach, and all kinds. And without further ado, let's dive right into the video. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to fold the length of my fabric into two. So this is a 60 weight fabric. So I'm folding it into two. Basically that's 30 inches after folding. So after folding into two, I'm going to go ahead to fold it over again because I'm going to be drafting the front and the back all together. So after folding into two, I'm going to go ahead to take my measurement. So for how long I want it to be when it comes to the sleeves, from the neck to the sleeves, I want it to be 22.5 inches, 22 inches for the length and half of an inch to turn over the other fabric we'll be placing on the sleeves. So because it's too long, I'm just going to go ahead to adjust this. Then I'm going to go ahead to measure the 22.5 inches again. Like I said, 22 inches. So what you can do is place your tape from the middle of your neck up to wherever you want to get to in your hand, which is basically your sleeve. So now this is the neckline I'm taking now. So I'm using 3 inches, okay, by 1 inch for the back neckline, and I'm going to go ahead to curve it like so. So after curving it, I'm going to go ahead to take my front neckline. So I'll be going downwards by 6 inches. If you want yours deeper, you can go ahead to extend it. So after doing this, I'm just going to go ahead to use my straight ruler to connect the line like so. After connecting the line, I'm going to go ahead to mark the length I want to use for this black. So I'm going to mark in 29 inches, okay. I don't want to use the whole of the 30 inches. You can decide to use 28 inches also, but if you're a taller person, you might need to use more length, okay. So after doing this, I'm just going to go ahead to mark my sleeve opening, and for the sleeve opening I'll be using 13 inches in total for the sleeve opening, okay. So I'm just marking where my sleeve opening will be. So what I'm just going to go ahead to do is to mark that same 22.5 I marked earlier on that sleeve opening point, just as to get a straight line. So after connecting like so, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to mark my waist measurement, okay. So this is important for me to be able to curve it properly. So on that waist line, I'm going to go ahead to take my hips divided by 4 plus 6 inches. Or if you want yours bigger, you can add 9, 10 inches, but 6 inches is just fine for me, okay. So after doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to connect with a straight line like so. So now the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is just curve it and connect it. But if you know your hand will be straight, just come inward by 4 inch at this point or 3 inch at this point. Then you're going to go ahead to use your straight ruler to connect like so. Then you're going to go ahead to curve it. That's if you know your hand will be straight, and you can as well use your armhole curve, okay. So now I'm just going to go ahead to cut it out, okay. So I'm just going to go ahead to cut it out. Plus make sure you're cutting for the back first. Please don't cut for the front, for the back first. So I'm just going to go ahead to notch it, okay. Then I'm going to go ahead to open it up like so. So I'm going to be able to cut the front neckline, okay. So I'm just going ahead to open it up, then fold it up like so, making sure the sleeves align. So you know when the sleeves align, that shows you that you've properly placed them, making sure it's properly aligned like so. So as you can see, I will now cut out the front neckline. So please make sure you're cutting out the back neckline first before you now open it up to cut out the front neckline, okay. So now after cutting this out, this is what we have. So now we have the neckline for the front and back. This is what it looks like. So now for what we will place, right in front of the cloth, which is the orange fabric. Okay, I'm going to go ahead to place my fabric like so. So after placing it like so, I'm going to fold my orange fabric into two, then place right on top. Just make sure you use your height to gauge it. It's not too much for the back, especially. Maybe the back should be like 5 inches long maximum. So that was what I did. Then you're just going to go ahead to pin it right on top. Please properly follow up this part so you don't make any mistake. So after placing it right on top, I'm just going to go ahead to turn it over. Okay, so I will be able to cut out the neckline. Okay, so I'm just using my pin to secure it down so it doesn't shift. Then I'm going to go ahead to cut this out. So now I'm just going to go ahead to turn it over again. Okay, so I'm just doing this for accuracy and so that I don't make any mistake. So now on this shoulder line, just straighten it. Okay, extend that shoulder line. So after doing that, on this point you measure 3 inches. Okay, so after measuring 3 inches, what you're going to go ahead to determine is how long you want the front to be. So 11 to 12 inches is okay. Okay, then after marking that, you're just going to go ahead to draw a straight line. Okay, so after doing this, don't forget we marked 3 inches earlier on that shoulder plus our neckline measurement, which was 3 inches. That's a total of 6 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead to mark 6 inches at the point where I want my the front design to stop. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead to connect that 6 inches. Okay, and for the back, like I said, you can come downward by 4 inches. Okay, then you're just going to go ahead to connect it to that 3 inches I marked earlier. Okay, so after doing this, I'm just going to go ahead to cut it out. Please be careful while cutting it out so you don't cut out the black fabric with it. Okay, so after cutting this out, I'm just going to go ahead to remove the pin, then cut out another fabric of this which will serve as your facing. So basically this, I'm just going to go ahead to place another fabric and cut it out again because I want to turn it out. Okay, so basically one is going to serve as the lining, but I'm using the same fabric, but one is going to be serving as the lining. So I'm just going to place this right on top of the fabric I folded. Okay, then I'm just going to go ahead to cut it out. So basically I just want it I want it to, like, it's basically I want to turn it out. So basically one is serving like a lining because I'll be turning out the clothes before attaching it to the black outfit. So what I'm going to go ahead to do now is to cut it out. So after cutting it out, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to cut out the sleeve design. So for the sleeve, as you can see, there's something showing. This orange color is showing right under the sleeve. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is to take my fabric, the one I already cut, and measure my sleeve opening, the total sleeve opening. So I have about 27 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead to mark 27 inches. Mind you, I'm cutting for the front and the back all together. That's why I folded it into two. And for the length, I'm using 3 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead to mark 3 inches. Please ignore the hand. Then I'm just going to go ahead to cut it out, then divide it into two because I'll be using it for both sleeve. Okay, so now we have that for the sleeve. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to cut out the stripe fabric we'll be needing for the lower part. So I'm just going to go ahead to fold the stripes fabric into two, like so. So after folding into two, so after folding it, I'm just going to go ahead to take the length. So I'll be using a length of 33 inches because I want my bow be really long, basically above 60 inches of the length. You know, I already took 29 inches earlier plus 33 inches. That's above 60 inches. And for the width, I'll be using 60 inches, basically 60 inches for the front and 60 inches for the back, since I'm cutting on fold. Okay, I'm just cutting it into two. So basically one is going to serve for the front and one will serve for the back. So after cutting into two, I'm going to run a loose stitch, which we are going to use to gather it for both clothes. Then the next thing I'm going to also do is to place these two pieces right on top of each other. So I'm going to go ahead to pin it down just to make sure it's properly secured. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead to sew it up all around by 1/4 inch or 0.25 inch. Then I'm going to show you what it looks like after sewing. So this is what I have after sewing. So I ironed it behind camera, so make sure you iron it, please. So this is what I have. And please, when you want to place on this black fabric, make sure you are placing it on the wrong side of the black fabric. Do you get? Make sure you are placing it on the wrong side of the black fabric, because you'll be turning it over. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead to pin it down. Okay, so please make sure you are properly pinning them down. Okay, so make sure the front align and the back also aligns. So after pinning it down, what I'm just going to go ahead to do is to sew up the neckline round by 1/2 inch. Okay, so after sewing it round, this is what I have. Just go ahead to notch the corners, as you can see what I'm doing. Notch the corners. Okay, so after notching these corners, it's going to allow it lay properly when you turn it over. Okay, so you know I told you to sew on the wrong side. This is why, because we are going to be turning it out. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead to turn it all out. Okay, then I'm going to use my steaming iron to iron it properly. Okay, so after using my steaming iron, I'm going to also use my aiming gum to secure it while using my steaming iron. Okay, so this ensures it to stay properly before taking it to the sewing machine to run a stitch on the orange fabric. So I'm just using my aiming gum to iron it to make sure it properly stays. Just because you used a aiming gum to iron it doesn't mean you won't still run a stitch on it. I mean, it makes it last longer. So I would advise that after you use your aiming gum, you take it to the sewing machine and run a stitch on it all round the orange fabric using a orange thread, obviously. Okay, so after doing this, I'm just going to go ahead to attach the sleeve part. So now make sure this is on the right side. You know, for the neck part it was on the wrong side, but this is going to be on the right side because it's going to be inside, not outside. So I'm going to sew it up by 1/2 inch, and also I'll do the same for this side. Place it, then sew it up by 1/2 inch. Okay, before turning it all out. So I'm taking it to my sewing machine now. So this is what I have after sewing it, then turning it out. Please bear with me for this quality. I don't know what happened at this point. So now just make sure you turn it all out. Okay, after sewing it, then you're going to go ahead to fold it in, then iron it. As you can see, it looks so neat. So please fold it by 1/2 inch in the inner part, like so, then iron it to give it a nice finishing. Then after doing this, you're just going to run a straight stitch right on top using a black thread. Okay, so I would advise you use a black thread so you are not seeing orange outside, you get. So do that for the other side also. Okay, so you fold it inward, then sew it on the sewing machine with a straight stitch to secure it. Please make sure you fold this corner, okay? So the next thing I'm going to guide to do is to gather my stripe cloth. You know, I already ran a straight stitch on top of this, which is a loose stitch. So I'm just going to go ahead to gather it, okay? I'm just going to keep on gathering it till I have the same measurement or the same length with the lower part of this black fabric, okay? So now after gathering it, I'm just going to go ahead to place the stripes right on top of the black fabric, then sew it up by half of an inch all through. Also do the same for the back. So this is what I have after sewing it up. I'm just going to go ahead to sew up the sides of the cloth, okay? So I'm going to place them properly on top of each other like so. Then I'm going to sew it up from the slip part all the way to the lower part. So make sure it's properly aligned after sewing it up by 1 inch, and I'm also going to do that for the other side. Place it on top of each other like so, then sew it up by 1 inch. Then I'm going to go ahead to aim the lower part, and voila, this is what we have. Please, if you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment and share, and see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.